Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our CPDP seminar for the month of June, titled The Architect's Role in Shaping Affordable Housing, a Critical Examination of Design Principles and Practices. Our speaker for today would be Architect Adeyemi Babatunde Alex. So, I think the chairman will be giving us an opening address before we commence with the CPDP lecture, please.
Yes, firstly, I would like to warmly welcome everyone to this month's CPDP seminar. We had one just before LAF, and also we intend to continue the discussions on various topics all through the year. I know most of us are versed in housing, especially in the principles of housing design and both complex, simple, different housing styles, especially domiciled in Lagos because of our peculiar weather and terrain. But what's always beats my mind is the definition of the word affordable, which is very vast and can be very, very technical to discuss. Our speaker is a professional, on and has written many papers concerning this topic. His PhD is tied to this topic, and we believe that he can do justice to the topic as it is. Contributions to affordable housing, from my point of view, is as architects, we have to look at the cost of effective design. How do we make our designs more cost effective, which I believe our speaker would cover. What are the challenges that we face as architects in coming up with affordable housing prototypes? I think we should be able to also talk about sustainability and energy efficiency in design as it pertains to modern activities and today's way of designing for houses. Not to take too much of your time, I also want to appreciate everyone that has joined in promptly as early as you have. And thank you for always being part of what we do. Hopefully at the end of this, we want it to be a open discussion. We want you to be able to drop in your questions and contribute as the CPDP lecturer gives his lecture. After that, there will be time for us to give those contributions and as well as ask questions as much as possible. So, General Secretary, I believe you have a small profile for our speaker, and then I think he can take it up from there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Chairman. Adeyemi Babatunde Alex is a distinguished architect, builder, and project manager with over 23 years of postgraduate experience. As the principal partner of Yebason Envirotech Limited, he leads innovative projects that intersect architecture, construction, and environmental sustainability. Under Alex's leadership, Yebason Envirotech Limited has become a beacon of innovation in the built environment. The firm is renowned for its commitment to sustainable development, integrating eco-friendly practices into every project to address the challenges of urbanization and climate change. His career embodies a fusion of academic excellence, professional practice, and a deep-seated commitment to sustainable development. He's an adjunct lecturer in Bamidele Olumilua University of Education, Science and Technology, Ikere, Ekiti State. He had his Bachelor of Technology, BTech, and Master of Technology, MTech, in Architecture from Federal University of Technology, Akure, a Master Project Management, MPM, from Wayne University, Minneapolis, Minnesota, USA, and a PhD in Architecture from the University of Lagos. Alex has worked on numerous high-profile projects across Nigeria, including academic and institutional buildings, commercial and hospitality projects, residential developments, industrial and infrastructure projects, civic and cultural buildings. His expertise lies in integrating design flexibility, housing affordability, and environmental. So with this, I would like to welcome our speaker architect, Adeyemi Babatunde Alex, please. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, the moderator. Thank you very much, the chairman of Lagos State chapter of NIA and its executive. Thank you very much, everyone. Let me start by greeting the president of NIA, Architect Adeniyi. Good evening, the chairman of Lagos State chapter of NIA, Architect Biodun Fatuyi. Good evening, the executives of Lagos State chapter of NIA and every member of the education committee. Good evening to every one of us, colleagues, and everyone all over the world watching us today. My name is Adeyemi Babatunde Alex. I'll be presenting my topic today on the CPD, Lagos State chapter of NIA program for architects. Yeah, let me quickly start by sharing my slides. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, the topic today will be on the architect roles in shaping affordable housing and a critical examination of design principle and practice. From this topic, we can pick two major variants: architect and affordable housing. We are now looking at the connectivity between the architects and the affordable housing. How do they affect how architects' responsibility or roles are shaping affordable housing? That's what we are looking at today. But affordable housing comprises of the residential building, non-residential building, public domain, and the moderator factors, which is the users of the housings. From there, we can quickly agree with me that affordable housing is far more than a low-cost commodity, but a dynamic system linking building form, social needs, biological needs, and environment together. Within that system, the architect's early-stage design choices and decisions largely determine the long-term affordability, sustainability, functionality, and even the satisfaction of the end users. Sorry, can you move to the next page? Slides. Yeah. Why architect roles matters to shaping affordable housing? Architects, by our nature, we are proactive more than reactive. We predict a future from starting a design. So we can quickly look into the future and face the critical shortage of decent affordable housing happen in all these urban settlements. And when design variables are poorly aligned to users' demographic or to local climatic and economic reality, the downstream effects are tangible. Tangible in the sense that it can cause overcrowding, escalating maintenance costs, even reduce the quality of life. In the essence, the performance of affordable housing is a direct expression of architectural decision-making. Sorry, the next, yeah. Now, we are here today to present or to examine how architects shaping affordable housing through its early design stage, choice, and decision. And the earlier stage design tools used are design variables, housing components, and the opportunity and choices offered by the design. Those are the tools that architects use at early design stage. And design variables are geometric shapes, size, layout, and arrangement. The housing components, we can look at it from two perspectives, from the tangible attribute and not tangible attribute. And when you are talking about tangible attributes, we are looking at the physical features of the housing component. And from there, let's look at the space functionality. The space functionality, like your living room take care of your social bondings, sleeping, your bedroom, cooking, your kitchen, and your lobby, it take care of your circulations as well. And the building system and the building elements as well is a tangible features of housing components, like your floor, the wall, ceiling, roofing, and co. Those are the elements that you have to consider at the early stage of your design. And also the non-tangible factors or aspect of housing components are your ventilation, circulation, the psychological effects of the design. Those are the features of not tangibles of housing components. And as well, the housing opportunity and choices offered. Architectural decision-making is the extent to which it facilitates opportunities and choices for the end users. This can reflect in the ability of housing units to accommodate demographic mix, tenant mix, and the size mix. And when you are talking of tenant mix, for instance, it accommodates owners and the renters. Gone are the days, but now we are now doing rent and hold. And that is tenant mix. And when we are conceiving affordable housing, we have to think in line with all these three components: design variables, housing components, and opportunity and the choice offered by the buildings. So can we move to the next stage? Yeah, based on these three variables, the guiding question will be this: how does architect decision on design variables shape the affordable housing? How does the architect decision on housing components affect affordable housing performance? And how do design choices or decision expand or limit resident opportunity and choices? Those are the questions that guide the question we want to do based on our early design tools that we are using. Sorry, sir, can we? And we can move to the next stage, sir. The next slides. Sorry. Yeah, okay. Now let's all look at the architect decision on design variables. Design variables form the backbone of architectural design making and similarly shape the cost effectiveness, usability, and longevity of affordable housing. These variables comprises of geometric shapes, layout configuration, and others. And architect manipulation of these spatial forms elements has a direct relationship with both the initial cost and performance of the affordable housing. The architect decision on this, it lies on your ability, on your manipulations of imagination and your creativities to put all these things together to design an affordable housing. For instance, look at the shapes. Let's look at the shapes, irregular shape or non-irregular shape. When in the nutrition, it has been established that irregular or complex shapes will contribute to the cursive, the initial building cost. But at the same time, let's even look at the rectangle now and the square in shapes. You will use less block work for a square of the same area with rectangles. Those are the features that an architect can use to make affordable housing functioning. And also, let's look at architect decision on housing components. Housing components, as I've said, refer to tangible and not tangibles, but an effective integration of these elements supports sustainability and functionality and reduce the life cycle cost while ensuring comfort and user satisfaction. So, hello? Yeah, good. Sorry. Now we are looking at the early stage design choice and decision and the outcome of it. From the diagram attached to this, we can look at the housing components, the design variables, and opportunities and choices offer. Those are this early design, the early stage design choices that you make. And look at it, it's like a Ludo game that when you are using your dices, you put it and dice it together. And let's assuming that all these are your dices. The three factors are your dices you put together to produce your housings. And it now depends on the shapes that you use, the layout design, and design variable that you use, and even the both tangible and not tangible components of housing building that you conceive. And as well as the opportunity and the choices that you want your design to offer for the end users. And this will surely affect the affordable housing performance. Now, when you look at, let's go to the implication of all this, the implication of early design stage choices and design. When you take your design variables, the shapes, the size, layout arrangements, and others, when you take them, apply them on your housing components. Your housing component in terms of tangible and not tangible that we have looked at, and in terms of the building space, the building elements, and the building systems that you apply. All those ones will determine the opportunity and the choice that you are offering the end users. And this eventually affects the housing performance. The housing performance in terms of affordability, adaptability, and sustainability. So, yeah. So the next stage, the core design principle. Designing effective, affordable housing require an understanding of the complex relationship between all those three variables that will produce the social equity, economic flexibility, and environmental responsibility. And the following core principles serve as a foundational guidelines in shaping affordable housing. You look at effective geometrics and the layout and arrangements. We look at flexibility and adaptability. And when you are talking of flexibility and adaptability, we are now looking at the ability of the building to respond to physical and social change, to accommodate the dynamic needs of the end users. And by doing that, also we are looking at the materials and the space effectiveness. The materials is always good when you are doing the principle that you should inculcate in your design is when you are looking at the local contents of the material you are using, the types of the materials you are using. Look at our wall. Now we can make our wall, interior walls, we can make it a dry wall. And you can now use you can look at all those materials in terms of the flexibility or adaptability characteristics of their components by doing that. And also by look at the passive design strategy into it. Let's do more of natural means than artificial means. Now we can take our daylights, how you can use it as an advantage, and even the flowing of your air, the air circulation within the building. And let's look at the principle that will encourage inclusivity and accessibility into the design. Yeah, the best practice. Designing effective, affordable housing require an understanding, as I've said earlier, they require it. And to effective implementing core design principle in affordable housing design, architects must adopt practical and a scalable strategy that address both construction effectiveness and the long-time possibility for the design. And the following best practice provides actionable guidance for the achieving high performance user-central housing design, such as encouraging uses of simple forms, a regular form, by encouraging fabricated systems, mixed topology and tenors, plug and play service core, by encouraging your kitchen can serve a multi-purpose. Your kitchen can serve as a kitchen, for cooking, as also as for storage, and encourage local content usage of the materials and build in the flexibility characteristics to encourage to accommodate the dynamic change of the end users. Sorry, can we move forward, sir? The challenges that we see. We as an architect, as we all know, that is our product depends on how we're able to manage or to manipulate our creativity and imaginations. So from here, we have to a bit, when you are designing an affordable housing, to do a bit away from the complex geometrics. It will add to the cost of the building, which eventually it will affect the affordability of the building. And the building and the rooms, they don't have to be rigid. They have to have a rigid layout and one size fitting all units. And we should discourage by using the imported materials that it can encourage high costs. So, sorry, sir, the opportunity? The opportunity we see, the opportunity, as Oli said, that as an architect, is your ability to manage your creativity through the uses of creative variables. Uses of the shape, the geometric shape that you will use, the sizes, and even the material that you will recommend for the design. So from there, all this, and by incorporating a passive design into it. Our findings. Our findings, as I've earlier said, architect decisions will affect the outcome of affordable housing. Indirectly, architect decisions is a direct expression of architectural decision making. It will affect the decision you are making at the early stage of design will affect the outcome of your design. And also, flexibility is the equity. We have to ensure that 20 to 30% of flexibility characteristics should be incorporated into your design. So that will discourage the percentage we are using in maintaining the life cycle of the buildings. And also, the passive measure first should be encouraged into the building. Let us be more natural in uses of natural features than using artificial more, like issue of electricity. We can do more on our daylight inculcation into the buildings than uses of that. And even the ventilations, we can do that, and equally the issue of excuse me, actionable recommendations. From day one, an architect should be thinking how he can inculcate the first flexibility characteristics into his design, and he should use of simple forms, and he should think how he can maximize local content, and as well make use of design passive. You should encourage it in the design. You should encourage in design, and also you should look at the way it can foster mixed community and institutionalize universal design and leverage industrialized constructions and create a post-occupancy feedback to the design. So from there, he will know how to improve on what he has done. And the closing remark, the closing thoughts, affordable housing perform at the levels of architects' imaginations and decisions. When that imaginations is grounded in evidence, equities, and local contents. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, sir, for that concise and punchy presentation. Just before the General Secretary comes up to continue with questions and comments, I would like to quickly recognize the presence of the immediate past chairman, Architect David Majekodumi, and also a past chairman of NIALSC Lagos State Chapter, Architect Abimbola Ajayi. I also like to recognize the presence of Architect Bisi Olumide, Dr. Ini Adeyemi, Dr. Edward Oladubolu, and Architect Muiwa Ige. I can see he's on the call to all the way from the whole world. Architect Muiwa Ige, FNIA, thank you, sir, for being with us. So every other person that is here, not mentioned and mentioned, I appreciate your presence. And it's time for us to open the floor for discussions and questions. So GS, please, can you anchor that? Oh, sorry, I think it's Architect Yemi Ogini, right? I don't know, just...
But I would like to send that question. Yes, actually. But if you have questions, kindly use the chat box and type them and thank you.
Yeah, or you can also raise up your hand and unmute to ask your question, if that also makes it faster for us.
Hello, good evening. My name is Diolu Lana. I am, of course, I'm an architect, project manager, and a sustainability expert. When we talk about affordable housing, essentially we're talking about cost. Can you shed some light on how we can create opportunities in terms of more efficiency in cost? How can we solve the cost and value trade-off? How can we solve those those challenges? And specifically, we're talking, if you narrow it down, we're talking about materials, because that's where the cost go into. So can you shed some more light how we can create possibilities in area of cost of materials? What things can we do? Can we optimize? Can we change materials? What things can be done sustainably? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, as I've earlier said in my discussion, in my presentations, materials is one of the components we have to look at when you are designing affordable housing. And now we have choices. It depends on the material you are using for it. For instance, now, without considering the social acceptability, and that is one of the major issues we have in this part of the world. But now we have varieties of the material that we can use. Let's take the internal walls for an example. We can use a drywall. And when you're using a drywall now, you can make use of all this HDF combined with other things to make it. We can use fibers. We can use polystyrene. And by the time you are looking at the cost, by the time you are looking, let's assume issue of polystyrene. You can use polystyrene. Immediately after the installation, you don't need to paint. The cost of doing the plastering won't be included anymore. So all those factors All those factors will reduce the cost of construction in the building. And apart from that, if we look at the way we can encourage flexibility into the affordable housing design, it's better for us. Now, why you can design in such a way that you can partition it to what you want, or you can extend the space to what you want without altering, without doing any physical alterations. And those are the things that we will discuss. For instance, recently we did a particular design in such a way that it can move, it can grow. It can grow either horizontally or vertically. It depends on your concept, how you view, how you find, you manipulate your creativity to solve the problem of affordability. But in terms of materials, we have all the local content. You can sort numbers of material that we can use that are even cheaper than the issue of using cement. Those days that they are using stabilized bricks, stabilized is also equally good. But now, if for your partitioning walls, I'm talking of no bearing walls within the buildings, you can use a dry walls materials for it. So.
Architect Bakinwa, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Well done, Dr. Adeyemi, for your presentation. I want to ask regarding drywall construction in a country where our firefighting services is epileptic and almost non-existent. How safe are these materials that you mentioned for partitioning in case of fire outbreak? I would have said maybe, okay, that's question number one. Then number two, I love the fact that NIA Lagos State chapter is putting up these seminars. Kudos to the ESCOs, well done. And I love it that it's coming from them. Now, my question is, how would you advise NIA to promote our local material? You talked about stabilized what's it called, ISSB material. I think we should leverage on that and push the narratives, because the truth there is that a lot of clients are not buying some of these local things. They still want all this imported stuff and everything. So how I feel there is a way we can advise ourselves as architects using the instruments of NIA to push the narrative of stabilized laterite bricks such that it becomes, because I know if you look at the cost relatively with what's it called, the other material, hollow blocks and cement, it's almost the same. And that's because it is not common. It's not something that you can just drive into a place and order for your stabilized laterite bricks and you get it immediately, just like you buy your hollow blocks. So how can you advise NIA to push the narrative, and maybe with policies or something, such that we promote our local thing? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sumbo. Yeah, let's start from the fire resistance of the drywall material that you said. And one of the functional requirements of any material using for particular building elements is fire resistance that we consider, and which is varies. And from my findings, let's take polystyrene as an example. Polystyrene has more than 1 hour, more than the fire resistance of polystyrene is more than 1 hour. But I think the only issue we are really having is social acceptability. Our culture, we are used to bricks and a concrete form of design or construction. So to change the narrative, it depends on the creativities and the ability of every architect to market it to his clients. And the issue come to the issue of NIA. From my own perspective, NIA have been doing their best to showcase and to promote their stand. And one of it is this program referring to as CPDP. Now, yeah, so it's one of it. But it's a forum that all of us will come together and we discuss and find a common way that we can discuss that. And from the issue of our profession, the NIA may have little to do concerning that, except the only way NIA can really come in is when they want to make a policy at the federal or at the state level. But now, and if you look at the issue of affordable housing now, it has been hijacked by private setups, mostly in all these urban setups. So it now depends on individual architects on their response by how accommodate all those items that have been stated earlier, by looking at their design variable very well and looking at the material that's suitable for it, and by looking by very careful in choosing their housing components and to imagine the offer, the opportunity, and the choice that what is designing can offer the end users. Thank you very much.
I think Edafi's hand is up. Edafi, Ewiwu, please.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much, Dr. Adeyemi, for the very great lecture. If you look at on Daily Post, we got an announcement that the federal government is planning to build bamboo houses, just to make sure that we have affordable housing in Nigeria. Now, if you look at the cost of bamboo, you will discover that it's even more expensive now than normal wood. That's the normal plants that you have. So we are talking about using natural materials and all of that. So in that aspect, what do you think we should do about that? That is one. Then two, for me, the whole essence of affordability is to ensure that the public, those that are the lower cadre in terms of remuneration and all of that, get access to housing. So, but if you look at Nigeria, Lagos, for example, you see we have lots of houses. People call them in quote affordable houses, but really those that are earning low, they can't have access to those houses. So in other words, those houses are actually expensive in real life, not theoretical. Now in real life, those houses are actually expensive. So what do you think? Because in principle, in design, you can do all these things. You can apply all these principles, and then at the end of the day, we still discover that these houses are not affordable in the real sense. So what do you think? Where do you think the gap is as far as Nigeria is concerned? And how do you think we can close that gap? Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Yeah, let me quickly say this concerning the bamboo. I may have different opinion. The issue of bamboo that's not compared to other materials, it's not expensive. But by the time you are now consider the distance, the proximity to the city where they need it, it now becomes more expensive. And that is the factors of our transportation systems and the cost of transporting it down here. The bamboo that you are talking about, the bamboo we are talking about, I think in some local area where they don't need affordable housing, where the affordable housing is not their problem, sorry. You understand now? You can get this less than 10 naira. But by the time you get to Lagos, you discover that bamboo you are talking about, and then not talk by the time you even process it, the cost implication will be very high. But in this situation, I would say that as an architect, we have a lot to do with our design concepts. I'm talking of our design principles. We have a lot to do. We can change the narrative. The issue of affordable housing is a catalysis of urban area, and where the land cost is higher. Why can't we go a skyscraper from there? So from there, the square meter or the costs of all those houses will be cheaper. And by the time we are doing that one, and we can do a design to make it an open floor design. We can do that. When you do that one, it will reduce the number of materials that you will use for your wall, for the partitions, even for the finishings. It will reduce that. Immediately you're able to achieve that, and now everything will become cheaper in relatively to what we used to have.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. Can we hear from Shoga Abayomi, please?
Yeah, hello. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for this. I just actually wanted.
You will need to speak up, sir. Architect Shoga Abayomi.
Yes, can you hear me?
It's a lot better.
Okay, yeah. I just wanted to make a comment regarding the. Thank you very much for the lecture. But I just wanted to make a comment regarding the issue raised regarding fire rating and fire resistance. It's one of the reasons why we're pushing for that education to be passed on to architects and aspiring architects. Gypsum board is generally regarded as flame retardant. Let me explain the principle. If you have a vehicle, the fire extinguisher you have very likely is called the DCP extinguisher, dry chemical powder. Now compact that powder, that dry chemical powder. Now get from the materials, depending on the material, there are several materials that are used, but just imagine that you now get a gypsum board. It's that powder which makes it flame retardant and it asphyxiates the fire. So when you are discussing fire rating, most times you'll be told that the board is either each board is 30 minutes. What most architects do when they want to actually make a particular layer flame retardant a wall, it will arrange the boards sequentially. So you have 30 minutes, and you have 120 minutes, or 30 minutes, 30 minutes, or 60 minutes, 60 minutes, and 30 minutes, 30 minutes, and then you have 60 minutes, or 60 minutes and 60 minutes, and you have 120 minutes, and so on and so forth. Okay, so that is how it is measured. So yes, they are flame retardant, and if they are used in an affordable housing model, yes, you would be able to pass the test of most fire departments when it comes to fire rating. As for polystyrene, it is generally regarded as flammable, so it will be discouraged for partition walls, especially in high-risk areas like kitchens, like electrical rooms, like server rooms. So that should be noted in design. But if it is gypsum board, yes, that we would push for that, because that would be a very quick and easy way of having affordable housing and also having internal spaces which are flame retardant and with very low fire rating. So thank you.
Thank you for that contribution, Architect Shoga. I think I saw RA. There's an RA, a hand RA. And please introduce yourself because it's an initial.
Oh, sorry about that. Good evening, everyone. This is Rotimi Akindikpe, Architect Rotimi Akindikpe. I didn't know it was just the initial that was there. Thank you, Dr. Adeyemi, for the presentation. It was quite challenging and insightful, because generally as architects, our role has been put as the backbone in the whole solution to affordable housing in Nigeria. And I believe this is a forum that we can really all engage ourselves to solve the solution from the design point of view. The challenge of our practice is that over the years we have been trained to do designs based on whatever the economy. Our solution is always reactional. Those are my own thoughts, and I think we have to go proactive about. I mean, especially for those in the government that has the opportunity to come up with policies that will help solve this housing shortage and problems. My challenge and my question is this, sir. The role of land, I mean, from the little experience I have, the component, one of the greatest cost components to and inhibition to affordable housing is the availability and the cost of land. Someone said, as architects, our canvas is our land or our studio, our drawing, AutoCAD, whatever. But without land, we are just dreamers. We need to see how we can put that component right from our design point of view. So that is my question, and I want us to shed more light into how availability of land and the tenorship of land can help us. You know, as architects, we design how we live based on the current reality. You know, that's my question, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We quickly say this, sir. The present Jakonde estates, the satellite towns, they have been designed some years back. Some of them are affordable housing. Or let's use the Shagari, the so-called Shagari housing estates. I think we have one in Egbeda Axis. When the idea was conceived, that area happened to be a satellite town to the core of Lagos State. Now, when you are now looking at affordable housing now, we all know that land covered most of the costs of building it. Now we should be thinking how we can maximize let's say this is a coastal road now. We can be thinking how we can maximize it and be starting to create another satellite town that where the land is not as expensive at the core area. So from there, from beginning, we have already taken care of, we already solved a particular problem that relates to issue of land. That's the way I look at it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for your response. Taiwo, I thought I saw Taiwo Ayekpe's hands up.
Yes, I thank you, presenter, but my concern has just been answered in this last response. Thank you so much. I'm very grateful. Great presentation, by the way.
All right. So, sir, I'll just take two questions quickly from the chat from architect Smith Lambert. Is asking, yes, affordable is good when designing, but my issue is that our workmen don't understand the technicality behind all these materials, except the usual one, which is block and cement, etc. Can you help us to share more light on what the governments are doing to mitigate this issue? And the second question again is from Dear Lulana. I think he had asked before, but we'll take it too. You just answer the two at once. It says, what cost figure can we say is affordable for the average Nigerian, e.g. a 2-bedroom, and what are the financial accessibility mechanisms? E.g. financial services. Secondly, the slab is the cost culprit. How can this building element be value engineered to make it more efficient materials and construction wise? Yeah, so I don't know if you could take the two questions together and then we can start
sorry, it's not really audible. I cannot really hear you here. I don't know whether you can repeat the question, please.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
I can hear clearly now.
Okay, good. The first question was, sorry, just 1 minute. The first question is from architect Smith Lambert. It says, yes, affordable is good when designing, but my issue is that our workmen don't understand the technicality behind these new materials that we're talking about. How do you think the government is going to mitigate this issue? And then the second one is asking from Deolu, what cost figure can we say is affordable for the average Nigerian? For instance, a 2-bedroom, what are we going to say is the financial accessible mechanism, financial services, and he's talking about the slab being the building element that might be adding more cost, and how we can bring value engineering to that and make it more efficient.
Thank you very much. The first question, let me quickly respond to that, has to do with the issue of workmanship and what government are doing about that. Recently, we all hear what the federal government are saying about the issue of technical schools. And we discovered there's a shortage of the skilled laborers in Nigeria, most especially in the building industry. Sometimes 6 months or the last 2 years, we discovered that most of the guys that are coming, all these Kutonu boys from the Republic of Benin, they all left Nigeria because of our exchange rate. And since then, everybody can see the shortage of the laborers, the laborers or other the workers in the building industry. And in order to mitigate that, federal government set up, they are now looking into it in such a way that they want to improve and to encourage people going to technical schools. So from there, we won't have that issue of that problem. But apart from the issue, the involvement of the government, we also should look at it from this perspective. Our normal services is after design, and we produce the construction drawing is supervision. And recently we discovered that if we do a study, we discovered that most of the architects are not involved in the supervision of most of the houses that we see around. And from there, eventually it will affect the outcome of the building and intentions of where they've been designed for. And that's why you can see the issue of justification everywhere in all those the so-called affordable housing being designed. So I think that is a critical area that we have to look at, we need to improve on. And this NIA can look into and HACON, we can look into that by encouraging, by trying to create a policy that any housing being designed must be supervised by an architect. Immediately that one happened, there was going to be an improvement in the workmanship that we see around. And that's the issue of how the affordability can be defined. Yeah, though it's relative, by the time we are looking at it, it's very, very relative when you are talking about affordability. But by the definition that has to be established for ages is that by looking at 25% of your income, that you are not spending more than 25% of your income in a year. That's where we can define our affordability. But even the 25%, but the theory, forget to look at even no income. I'm not saying of low income now. No income. There's numbers of people in Lagos that they don't even have any income. How do we take care of them? That is a big question that we all have to look at. If we fail to take care of their needs will take care of our environment. Those are the questions, those are the areas I will look at. But the issue of what affordable housing should be is relative. And relative based on the benchmark that has been established. But the issue now is that 25% of income, but there's many people in Lagos State and in urban area that they are with no income, that they don't have any income at all. And by the time we look at their populations, I know that in the worst scenario, let's assume that there are even 5% of the population of the urban area. They will have a negative impact on the environment. How do we take out them? The only way we can take out them is government, in order to encourage some of them, the migration of them to the urban area, searching for the green pastures, by government creating a policy that will encourage people going back to the rural area. That will assist that. That will assist. That is my take. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Just the final two questions before we call it a day. From Yemi Adediran, it says, facing the reality of material cost these days, can we really say sustainable low-cost housing is possible? And the second one is, how feasible is neighborhood development? A sort of mini new town with residences, school, shopping facilities, looking at this sustainable concept. That's from Ogunleye Olukayode.
Thank you very much. Sustainable design is possible, it's achievable, and is on the way, and we are achieving it. We are achieving it, it's possible. And if you look at the particular era we have in Nigeria, is another era that is like we are starting over again. And the sharp change in our way of life is changing. So from there, and the issue of all this climatic change and also things, so the new design is now coming up. For instance, yesterday I was listening to a presentation by one of the architects talking about the computerization, whatever. So now the thinking is changing. Our need is equally changing. So sustainable design, and most of the architects now, they are not so, they are design, they are tailoring towards the place, even in terms of the material usage, in terms of design. So they are towards that. And the essence of our presentation today, by the time we look at all those variables itemized in these presentations, it will encourage more of the sustainability. We will encourage more of affordability, and it will encourage more of functionality. Thank you very much. And the issue of neighborhood design. Yeah, as I've earlier said, by the time we are talking of housing, housing is equally a process and is equally a product. By the time we are now looking at it, and this housing we are looking at it comprises of the residential buildings, it comprises of the public domain, and it comprises of non-residential buildings that will support the functionality of that residential buildings. And the moderating factors, which are the residents, and these residents, their attributes or their reaction to the design depends on their geometric setup. And from my presentation, that's why we look at demographic mix. It would determine what the housing or affordable housing setup will comprise. So based on that one, the neighborhood design is very, very possible. And this can be encouraged. I think people are doing away from it because they are looking at the cost of the land. By the time we encourage this satellite house design, it will be possible for us to achieve all what we want. Everybody want to pay for equality of life if they can have it in any neighborhood. And also, our designer is now turning towards look of a proper word to use, but now they are now disengaged of a normal social class. They are now that is what our design is now encouraging. Now we should look for a way now that we cannot do our design, as I've earlier said, that it can encourage opportunity and choices. We should be designed to encourage that. We should be able to harmonize all the social classes in a particular neighborhood. If a MD is living in VI, his driver cannot be living in Ayobo or Kuje, and when he's living in the heart of the Abuja. So you should look for the way that we are encouraging our design to integrate all the social classes together so we can have a functioning system. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. I will just invite Architect Adeshokunbi to give a remark, because I believe he's trying to say something on the chat, which I'm finding difficult to express. Architect Shukubi, please, can you just give a word to what you are trying to say on the chat?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. It's just really about the fact that Dr. Adeyemi mentioned that the relocation, or not necessarily relocation, but people moving to rural areas can help sort of like, mitigate against high costs of land in the urban areas. But I was also trying to suggest that if there could be some type of self-build practice, that can also add, basically where a community move to a rural neighborhood where land is relatively cheap, and the artisans or the people who end up building are the people who are going to be residing in these new neighborhoods. That surely can help with the high cost of construction that usually comes with contractors carrying out the development of supposedly or so-called low-cost housing. I'm thinking that should in some way help, mitigate this problem of high costs of construction and high cost of land. It's just a suggestion, really.
Yeah, very well received, and thank you for that innovative suggestion. So we have just one more thing to address before we go, and the speaker or anybody that is versed in this can also address it. I think it's important we discuss this before we leave. Diolu asks, are there any engagements with mortgage banks and NIA to make mortgages more affordable and available for willing low-income home earners? I will go first. I think there is the form of development from Federal Housing Authority. I know they have some units in Ikorodu that they are trying to sell at low rates. I don't know, of maybe about 5-6 million thereabouts. And I know that if you venture into that, you might be able to now pay, a mortgage over time. That is all I will say I know about it, but I'm sure that we can also do some research as an institute, to find out more about that and how we can leverage on such opportunities. So, Dr. Adeyemi, I don't know if you want to make a comment on that quickly, and if anybody has anything to educate us on mortgage banks and how we can take advantage of such, can also quickly add a word to it before we wrap it up today.
Yeah, I am not really, I don't have much to say about that, but I will still make my observation about it. The issue of mortgaging, good. I think it's a new innovation in Nigerian housing setup now. Because the tenor means before was is either you hold a house or you rent a house. But now gradually it's now moving to issue of rent household. But now the issue now, if you are renting a home, you must have the financial capacity to back it. But what we are now saying now is this: even there are some higher percentage of Nigerians that they are even with no income. How do we accommodate them? That is the question we should look at. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you, Architect Adeyemi, Babatunde Alex, for the educative lecture. I believe we've learned a lot about, should I say, affordable in quotes housing. And it also shows that there's a lot that has to be done by the government to actually cater for the low income earners, because it goes beyond just us as architects. It's everyone. It's about the architects engaging with clients and also the government in ensuring that affordable housing is actually not a dream, but something that is realistic. And I would like to thank everyone for joining us at this CPDP for the month of June. We look forward to having you at our business meeting, which is taking place at the Architects Place next week, Thursday, as usual. And look forward to more CPDP courses coming up in the future. Thank you all so much for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. Bye-bye.
Papa, did I do it? Yeah, so
Your discussion was there.
Hmm?